All right, so we're diving into Koh Samui real estate today.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, should be interesting. We've got this report by Ocean Worldwide. They're a luxury real estate agency, actually.
Oh, interesting.
They're based in Phuket.
Phuket. Okay.
And it's Phuket, not Phuket, just a little pronunciation note there.
Ah, good to know.
But yeah, they've been around since 2004, so they got a lot of experience in that market.
Well, that's a good sign. So they should have some pretty good insights then.
Yeah, exactly. And they focus specifically on luxury residential real estate.
Oh, okay.
So both in Phuket,
Phuket Cook. Right
and
on.
also in Koh Samui. And their director is Sandra O'Neill. She's been doing this for years, like literally helped thousands of families and investors.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of who we're getting this information from today.
So real experts then.
Yeah. So we're going to try to figure out, what's driving these prices in Koh Samui? What are the hot spots? What should we avoid? What does each area offer,
Yeah.
And is it even a good place to invest?
All good questions.
Yeah. So let's, I guess, start with location.
Yeah, location. Right. I mean, it's not just about being close to the beach, though.
Right.
There's a lot more to it when you think about the value of a property.
Oh, like what?
Well, think about accessibility. How easy is it to get to and from the property? Infrastructure, are the roads good? Utilities reliable? And even the surrounding neighborhood, is it peaceful? Or is it, noisy and chaotic? All of these things play a role.
So even on a beautiful island like Koh Samui, not all beachfront properties are created equal.
Exactly. The report actually highlights this by comparing different areas.
Okay.
Let's take Choang, for example. That's kind of the heart of the action in Koh Samui.
Mm-hmm.
Known for its nightlife, lots of restaurants, shopping.
Sounds lively.
It is. They even mentioned Central Festival, which is, I guess, the island's biggest shopping complex.
So that's for people who really want to be in the thick of it then.
Yeah, if you like that hustle and bustle, Choang's your spot.
Okay, got it. But what if someone's looking for something a little more, laid back?
Well, the report pointed to Beaufort for that. It's got this really charming atmosphere, especially around Fisherman's Village.
Fisherman's Village, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Actually, Beaufort's seeing a lot of growth right now, so it's attracting investors who are drawn to that kind of old world charm, but, with some more upscale development happening.
So it's kind of like the best of both worlds then. You get the charm, but you also get the modern amenities.
Yeah, that's the idea. It's definitely up and coming.
Interesting. Okay, so we've got Chowing for the party people.
Yeah.
Beaufort for, a more sophisticated, laid-back vibe.
Something like that.
Are there any other like key locations that they highlight in the report?
Yeah, for those who really want peace and quiet and a strong sense of community, there's Lamai. It's got beautiful beaches, very relaxed. And compared to those other areas, it's more affordable.
Okay. Affordable is always good.
Right. The report mentioned it being popular with families and people who just, want real escape.
Okay, I'm starting to get a feel for these different areas now, but let's talk numbers. How do Koh Samui property prices actually compare to, like, the other popular Thai islands?
Well, the report compares Koh Samui with, Phuket.
Phuket,
Exactly, and Koh Tao as well.
That's okay. Those are some of the big names.
Yeah.
And how do they compare price-wise?
So Koh Samui comes in at about 80,000 Thai baht per square meter,
Okay.
which makes it more affordable than Phuket, which is around 100,000.
Oh, wow. That's a big difference.
Yeah, it is. Phuket's got that really well-established luxury market,
Okay.
Attracts a lot of international buyers.
Makes sense.
And then there's Koh Tao. That averages around 60,000 baht per square meter.
So Koh Samui is kind of in the middle then.
Yeah, I'd say so. More affordable than the high-end Phuket, but, it's got more developed infrastructure and amenities than Koh Tao.
Right.
It's kind of like a sweet spot,
Yeah, sounds like it. So what about the types of properties that you can actually find in Koh Samui? What stood out to you in the report?
Well, I've got to admit, those luxury villas with the sea views, they definitely caught my eye.
Oh, yeah. Those are pretty amazing. Private infinity pools, those huge living spaces.
Yeah. And the views. Who wouldn't want that?
Right. But they also mentioned condos being popular and traditional Thai houses as well.
Oh, interesting. Why do you think people are drawn to those different types?
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about before, right? Different strokes for different folks. Those luxury villas, they really cater to a specific buyer. Someone who wants that exclusivity, high-end everything.
Right, makes sense.
But condos, they offer something else. They're more manageable, often more affordable. So perfect for someone who wants a lock and leave kind of place. Or maybe they're thinking about renting it out.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the traditional Thai houses.
I think those appeal to people who want something a little more authentic.
Yeah.
They want to experience that Thai culture, yeah, to really feel immersed in the place.
Exactly. Now, while all these property types are great, we can't ignore tourism's impact on the market.
True, that's a big factor, right.
Hmm.
I mean, the report did mention those seasonal price fluctuations
Yeah, during peak tourist season, prices can go way up.
because everyone wants to rent those places out. Right?
Exactly. So that brings up an important question. What kind of investor are you?
Okay, what do you mean?
Are you looking for a vacation home to enjoy during those peak seasons, or do you want something that you can rent out? Your goals will affect what you choose.
Good point.
If you're after consistent rental income, you might want to look at properties that appeal to people living there long term.
Yeah, or areas that aren't as affected by tourist seasons, right?
Exactly.
It's about strategy, I guess.
It is. Now, the report also mentioned something else. It looks like there's a lot of interest from international buyers these days.
Oh, really?
From where?
Especially from China, actually.
Okay. That could definitely impact the market. Yeah, although they did note some concerns about safety, there was some recent news that could potentially affect demand.
It's a lot to consider.
It is. It seems like things are constantly changing. Staying informed is definitely key if you're thinking about investing in Koh Samui real estate.
Agreed. So much to learn. So we talked about location, the types of properties. Now, let's not forget the legal side of things. Buying property in a different country, especially as a foreigner, is bound to have, rules.
Right, it does. The report actually emphasized that foreigners can't directly own land in Thailand.
Oh, okay. So how does that work if you want to invest in Koh Samui?
Well, there are a couple options. The first one is a leasehold agreement. That usually lasts for 30 years.
30 years. Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes it can be renewed. The other option is to set up a Thai limited company.
A company.
Yeah. It basically means that Thai nationals have to own the majority of shares. But as the foreign investor, you still retain control.
Yeah, that sounds a bit complicated.
It can be. That's why the report recommends working with a local lawyer who really knows this stuff.
Yeah, good advice.
They can guide you through the process, explain all the details about leasehold versus freehold ownership, and most importantly, they'll make sure all the paperwork is correct.
So legal expertise is non-negotiable, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just so much easier having someone who knows what they're doing on your side.
Definitely. It's starting to feel like a team effort is really important here.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of teams, what about real estate agents? What do you think are the key qualities to look for when choosing an agent in a place like Samui?
Well, local knowledge is obviously huge.
Hmm.
I mean, they need to know the different areas really well, the different types of properties, the prices, and of course, all the legal things we were just talking about.
You got it.
It's not just finding someone who can show you a few nice places, right?
Definitely not. You need someone who can really help you make smart decisions, someone who understands the market inside and out. And of course, they need a good reputation, a good track record.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about communication, though?
That's huge, too. You want an agent who's responsive, who listens to what you need.
And keeps you in the loop.
Exactly, because buying property overseas can be pretty intimidating, so having someone who you can rely on and communicate with easily is really important.
It's like having a partner in this whole process.
Exactly. Now, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about financing. What did you find interesting about the financing options in the report?
I was surprised by the variety, actually.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more.
Well, they mentioned mortgage loans, which is what I expected, but it sounds like it can be a bit tricky for foreigners. There might be stricter requirements, higher interest rates. Then there's the option of paying in cash, which some people might prefer. And then there are these alternative methods,
Oh, interesting. Like what?
like forming a limited liability company in Thailand, or even asking about seller financing.
Wow. So there's quite a few options then.
Yeah, it seems like it really depends on each individual situation,
Mm.
what their risk tolerance is, what their financial goals are. But the report really emphasized doing your research and talking to a financial expert.
Good advice. Now, all this financial talk makes me think about the cost of living in Koh Samui. How does that compare to the property prices? Like, can you actually live there comfortably without breaking the bank?
Yeah, it's a good question. And the report actually said that Koh Samui has a relatively affordable cost of living, especially compared to big cities around the world.
That's good to know.
Yeah, they said that the food is pretty cheap, transportation's not expensive, even the utility bills are reasonable.
Sounds promising.
It does. So you can definitely have a good lifestyle there without needing a huge budget.
Yeah.
But of course, everyone's different, right?
Right.
It all depends on how you like to live and what you like to spend your money on.
Exactly. And that probably ties into choosing the right location and the right type of property too, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, living in a fancy villa in Chaweng is probably going to cost you a lot more than a modest condo in Lamai.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about finding that sweet spot between your lifestyle and your budget.
Mm.
Now, before we move on, I'm curious about the future. What are your thoughts on what's going to happen with Koh Samui's property market?
Well, the report was cautiously optimistic. They think areas like Chaweng and Beaufort will continue to grow.
Because of the new developments and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense. But they did mention some risks too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like the fact that tourism can be unpredictable. If visitor numbers drop, that could affect property values.
Yeah, it's true.
And of course, there are always things like natural events that can happen, and the global economy is always a factor too.
So it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No, but the report did say that Koh Samui has been pretty resilient in the past. They've weathered a lot of storms, both literally and figuratively.
Uh-huh.
So that's something to keep in mind.
Definitely. And speaking of the future, one thing that really caught my attention in the report was the focus on sustainable living. It sounds like they're really making an effort to incorporate eco-conscious practices into the development there.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I mean, sustainability is becoming more and more important everywhere, and it seems like Koh Samui is really embracing it.
Yeah, they talked about a shift towards green building practices, energy efficiency, and minimizing the impact of construction on the environment.
I love that. It's not just about profits, it's about being responsible too.
Exactly. And it's not just good for the planet, it makes for a better living experience too.
For sure. So it sounds like they're really making some positive changes in Koh Samui.
They are. And that's got to be a good sign for the future of the island.
Absolutely. So we were talking about the importance of choosing the right real estate agent before the break.
Right, right. I think that's worth digging into a bit more, especially for anyone who's really thinking about investing in Koh Samui.
Absolutely, yeah. A good real estate agent can be such a valuable asset.
For sure. So what should people be looking for when they're, trying to find an agent?
Well, first and foremost, local knowledge. They need to really understand Koh Samui.
Okay, more than just the beaches though, right?
Yeah, way more. Think about it. They need to know each area inside and out,
Mm-hmm.
the different types of properties, what sells well where, the prices, obviously,
Right,
and all those legal details we talked about earlier.
right, right.
So it's not just about finding someone who can show you a few pretty houses.
Definitely not. You need someone who gets the whole picture.
Exactly. They need to understand the market, be able to guide you through the whole process, help you make the right decisions, based on your goals.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So expertise is
Yeah,
key.
definitely. And a proven track record. You want to see that they've actually helped other people successfully.
Good point. What about their communication style though?
Yeah, that's huge too. You want someone who is easy to talk to, who listens to you.
Someone who's responsive, who'll
Yeah.
keep you updated?
Exactly. Buying property overseas can be pretty stressful. You don't want to be left in the dark.
For sure. So you need that reassurance, that trust.
Yeah, it's like having a partner in the whole thing. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk about rentals. Koh Samui has a pretty interesting rental market, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's such a popular tourist destination. I'm curious about how that all works.
Well, there are a lot of options for both short-term and long-term rentals. You'll find everything from those little beach bungalows to fancy villas.
Oh, wow. And condos too, right?
Yeah, tons of condos. And of course, the traditional Thai houses. So something for everyone, really.
So what's the main difference between short-term and long-term rentals in Koh Samui?
Well, short-term rentals, those are usually for tourists, people on vacation. So
Yeah.
they're usually fully furnished, have all the amenities you need for a holiday.
Right. Makes sense.
The prices for those really depend on the season. During peak season, they can get pretty high.
Oh, yeah. Supply and demand.
Exactly. So if you're thinking about buying a property to rent out short-term, you need to be aware of those price fluctuations.
Right. Good point. And long-term rentals.
Long-term rentals are more for people who are living on the island for a while,
Hmm.
expats, retirees, or maybe people who work remotely.
Okay.
Those leases are usually for 6 months or a year, sometimes even longer.
So that would probably provide more stable income, right?
Yeah, you're more likely to have consistent income with long-term rentals.
but maybe not as high a return as those short-term rentals during peak season.
Right. There's always a trade-off. It really comes down to what you're looking for as an investor.
Yeah, your risk tolerance and all that.
Uh-huh.
So what about rental yields in Koh Samui? Is it a good place to invest if you're looking at it from a rental perspective?
It can be, yeah.
Mhm.
Especially if you choose the right property in a prime location, but you have to be smart about it.
Okay, how so?
Well, think about the type of property, the location, the seasonality, and of course, managing the property well is important.
So it's not as simple as just buying something and watching the money roll in.
Haha, no, not quite. You need a strategy. Maybe even consider working with a property management company. They can take care of a lot of the hassle for you.
Right, that could be a good option. So we've talked a lot about Koh Samui specifically, but I'm curious about how it compares to the rest of the world in terms of property.
Yeah, good question. The report actually compares Koh Samui's property prices with other places.
Okay.
And one thing that stood out was how affordable the condos are.
Really?
Yeah, especially compared to places like, say, New York or London. You can get a really nice condo in a good location for a fraction of the price.
Wow, that's a big difference.
It is. So if you're looking for value for your money, Koh Samui could be a really good option.
What about the luxury market, though? Those villas we were drooling over earlier.
Even those are relatively affordable compared to other luxury destinations.
No kidding.
Yeah, you're not going to pay French Riviera prices in Koh Samui, so it's a great place if you want that luxury lifestyle without breaking the bank.
I can see why it's attracting so many people. It's a pretty unique combination, isn't it?
It is. So beyond just the price, what else do you think makes Koh Samui stand out as a place to invest in property?
Well, the island itself is just stunning. The beaches, the nature, it's paradise.
That's true. You can't beat that.
And the Thai culture is amazing, too. The food, the people.
It's got it all. And the Thai government has also made it easier for foreigners to invest in real estate. They've streamlined a lot of the processes.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, and there are laws in place to protect foreign buyers so you can feel more secure.
Makes a big difference when you're investing a lot of money.
Definitely. And while there are risks, like with any investment, Koh Samui has proven to be pretty resilient.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. It's weathered a lot of challenges.
Exactly. So it's a market that's worth considering. Now, before we wrap up, I want to touch on sustainable living again. We talked about it a bit earlier, but I think it's really important.
Yeah, it was really interesting to learn about those eco-conscious developments. It's encouraging to see that they're making a real effort.
Definitely. It's becoming more and more common, and it's something I personally feel very passionate about.
Me too. It's great that developers are thinking about the environment and trying to reduce their impact.
Absolutely. They're incorporating things like solar panels, rainwater harvesting, green roofs, all kinds of innovative stuff.
Wow, sounds impressive.
It is. And some developers are going even further. They're building entire communities focused on sustainable living.
Oh, wow. What do those look like?
Well, they might have community gardens, shared electric car charging stations, really emphasizing a more conscious way of life.
That's amazing. It's not just about reducing your carbon footprint, it's about building a community too.
Exactly. Creating a more harmonious relationship with nature and with each other.
I love that. It's a
Yeah.
really inspiring vision for the future.
It is, and it's something that's happening right now in Koh Samui. So we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about finding the right real estate agent, the ins and outs of the rental market, how Koh Samui compares to other places in terms of price, and of course, all the exciting developments in sustainable living.
It's been really fascinating. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. And I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
Definitely. But for now, we need to take a quick break. We'll be back soon to wrap up our deep dive into Koh Samui real estate.
Welcome back. So I feel like we've explored so much about Koh Samui's property market already.
We have. It's such a dynamic place, with so much to offer, from the beaches of Choling to the peaceful Lamai. We've talked about those luxurious villas, the more affordable condos, and even those eco-conscious developments that are popping up.
It's been a whirlwind tour. But as we wrap up, maybe we should give our listeners some key takeaways, especially for those who are seriously thinking about investing in Koh Samui real estate.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's break it down a bit. Where should we start? Location, I guess. That seems like the biggest decision, right? Koh Samui has so many different areas, each with its own vibe.
Definitely. I always tell people, start by figuring out what you're looking for. What kind of experience do you want? Do you picture yourself in the heart of the action, surrounded by restaurants and shops? then Chong might be the perfect spot.
Right, the energy there is amazing.
It is. But if you're after something quieter, more laid back, maybe with a bit of that traditional Thai charm, then Beaufort could be a better fit. And of course, there's Lamai if you just want to escape and relax.
So many choices. It's like picking your own paradise.
It is. And once you've figured out the location, then you can start thinking about the kind of property you want.
Right, we've talked about all those amazing options, the villas with the infinity pools, the more practical condos, even those traditional Thai houses.
Each one has its own pros and cons, you know. Villas are great for luxury and privacy, but they come with a higher price tag. Condos are perfect if you want something low maintenance and maybe a bit more affordable. And traditional Thai houses, well, that's just a unique experience altogether.
It's all about matching the property to your lifestyle and your budget.
Exactly. And of course, let's not forget the legal and financial side of things, especially for our international listeners.
That's right. Buying property overseas can be a little daunting, and there are all those rules and regulations to navigate.
That's why it's so crucial to have the right team in place. A good real estate agent who knows the local market, a lawyer who specializes in property transactions, and a financial advisor who can help you make the right decisions.
They can really make the whole process smoother.
They can. Now, while we've been pretty positive about Koh Samui, it's important to remember that there are risks with any investment.
Right. We talked about the tourism industry being unpredictable and the possibility of natural disasters.
Yeah, those things are always out there. And the global economy is always a factor, too.
So it's smart to be aware of the downsides as well as the upsides.
Absolutely. Do your research, plan carefully, and be prepared for the long haul. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. Diversify your investments, understand that markets go up and down, and think about your long-term goals.
Good advice.
Mm,
It's all about being realistic,
right,
but also being optimistic about the potential.
exactly. Now, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier, sustainable living. I'm really excited about the direction Koh Samui is taking in that regard.
Me too. It's great to see those eco-conscious developments popping up all over the island. It shows that people are thinking about the future, about preserving the beauty of the place.
It's a real shift in mindset, you know? It's not just about making a profit anymore, it's about making responsible choices.
And it makes for a better living experience too. Imagine waking up in your energy-efficient home, surrounded by lush gardens, knowing that you're doing your part to protect the environment.
Sounds pretty idyllic, doesn't it? And it's happening. Those community gardens, those shared electric car charging stations, the focus on waste reduction, it's all really encouraging.
It's like they're creating a whole new way of life, more harmonious, more connected to nature.
Exactly. And I think it's a model for what the future of real estate could look like, not just in Koh Samui, but everywhere. So as we wrap up our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. Considering this movement towards sustainable living, how do you think eco-conscious developments will shape the future of Koh Samui's property market?
That's a great question, and I think the answer is pretty clear. Sustainable living is not just a trend anymore, it's a way of life. People want to live in a way that's good for the planet, good for their communities, and good for themselves. And Koh Samui, with its commitment to preserving its natural beauty, is in a perfect position to lead the way. So thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey.
It's been a pleasure sharing my insights with you, and hopefully we've inspired our listeners to explore this amazing island and everything it has to offer.
If you're thinking about taking the plunge into Koh Samui real estate, do your research, find the right team to guide you, and most importantly, dream big. Until next time, happy investing.